What is going on, my fellow Sagittariuses? Butch Tarot here. For anyone that's new, I am a Sagittarius, sun and moon. Welcome if you're new. Welcome back if you're not. If you like this content, give me a thumbs up. If you enjoyed it a lot, stick around. Subscribe. I am going to do a 1 week read. It is a general read, so it may not resonate with everyone. It is for your sun, moon, rising, and your Venus. For all you cross watchers, roles can be reversed. Always feel free to comment down below. I'm going to use the Tattooed Tarot. And with all that being said, let's get it. Universe, what message do we have for Sagittarius? What is going on for Sagittarius? All right. First things first is, damn. I like to see this. First things first, Sagittarius. I feel like you got some opportunities. And we got the Wheel of Fortune. Good things are coming. We're heading into Sagittarius star sign. And I feel like there's a lot of really good energy coming your way. I feel like there's multiple options for you. With that 7 of Cups and the Wheel of Fortune. Good things are coming. Now, when I talk about options, I feel like there's someone, some sort of connection that you already have. But I feel like with this person, I feel like they kind of been playing games. With the Knight of Wands, that Sagittarius energy, I kind of feel like it's that, I don't like saying it, but I'm going to say it. It's like they're playing games, and I feel like it's that fuck around and find out type energy. I feel like this person is fucking around, so they're going to find out. And because I feel like I said, I do see someone else coming in. They're coming in quite quickly. I see someone else making you an offer. Now, I do feel with this past person, or this person that you're already familiar with, I feel like there is a strong connection. But I feel like you haven't been getting from them what you wanted to get from them. Like I said, playing a little bit of games, that player energy. Now, I do feel like it is a facade. I feel like that person does care about you. I just feel like it's almost like there's a little bit of immaturity emotionally. But I feel like you chose you. You chose your happiness, and you're seeing things differently. And sometimes things have to fall apart for us to be able to, start again with that Tower. And we also have the Hangman, so seeing things differently. It's almost like a wake-up call for this person. Either step up or piss off. That's the type of energy I am getting. And like I said, someone else coming in, someone else making you an offer. But like I said, I feel like you're finally choosing you. Like sometimes we have deep connections with someone, and if they're not giving us what we need from them, even if we have that deep connection, sometimes we have to choose ourselves. You know, sometimes it feels like it's just they're bringing you down. So it's almost like this is the opportunity for this person to finally step up, or like I said, time to piss off. You know, what I do see is something you may not have expected. I feel like the plan worked. You know, I see this person opening up, this past person. You know, I do feel like they see what's at risk here. And I do see this person fighting for you. You know, it's time to grow up. You want me, take me. You don't, let me be. You know, and I do see this person fighting for you with the Five of Wands. I mean, I do see this person opening that communication with you and just being clear that they do want to move forward with you, that they do want to be with you with that Chariot, that Cancer energy. You know, this person finally giving you what you know you deserve. Sometimes because we have feelings for someone, deep feelings, sometimes we allow them a little bit more. What's that old saying? We give them a little bit more rope and see if they hang themselves. And I know that's terrible. But that's kind of what we're seeing. Like I said, with the Hangman, you're seeing things differently. You're choosing you. Now it's whether they choose you or they choose themselves. So I do see that you're giving them the opportunity, and I do feel like this person is taking that opportunity. Whether it's too late or not, that's up to you. I just feel like you're freeing yourself from... I gotta cover the devil has boobs in this one. I don't want to get restricted. So we have the devil. I feel like you're finally breaking free. You know, free of doing what's best for them. Free of, you know, it's liberating yourself with the devil card. You know, in reverse. It's about liberation. It's about freeing yourself from what's holding you back. And I feel like the way they were was holding you back. Now, I do feel like there's a big part of you that wanted it to work. And there's probably, for some of you, it's still a part of you that still wants it to work. It wasn't working the way it was. So, I mean, I feel like you're being very fair here. You're giving them the opportunity. And I feel, like I said, again, I do feel like they're going to take it. You know, I see a reconciliation. I see, you know, sometimes, like I said, with the Ace of Wands, reconciliation. Sometimes, like I said, when we allow people to get away with shit too long, they just forget that. They forget what got you. You know, they get complacent or they start slacking off. You know, and that's one of the biggest killers of a relationship is being a certain type of way, putting all this work into getting someone, and then once you get them, you kind of start slacking off and you wonder why they're not interested anymore. But like I said, this person knows what they want. You know, and I feel like not only are they getting on the same book, but they're getting on the same page. You know, so, I mean, I do feel things are about to change. You know, I see this person, I mean, finally taking that leap. That was the problem. I feel like not only did they get complacent, but I feel like they were just giving you enough they were giving you what they felt like was enough to keep you around. But what they realized is really quickly that you weren't getting what you wanted. And you're tired of it. You know, you put your foot down. You freed yourself. And like I said, I mean, I feel like you're being fair. You gave them the opportunity to make it right, and that's what they're going to do. You know, I do see this person trying to make a commitment to you with the Hierophant. You know, I do see this person emotionally having an awakening and realizing what they have and what they stand to lose. You know, so I do feel like this person is coming at you in a big way. You know, we have the King of Cups. We also have the Queen of Cups. It's a very nurturing energy. Like I said, I feel like somewhere along the line, this person got lost. You know, and I feel like because they got lost, you got lost. Like I said, I mean, I do see this person stepping up because I feel like they know what they stand to lose. I mean, we have the Ten of Cups. You know, it's that family card. It's that, you know, that person that you're comfortable with, that person that, I mean, for some of you, this may be someone that you have kids with or have been thinking about that. And then that's where a lot of things can spark these new thoughts of choosing you. You know, we have the Hierophant and the Ten of Cups. But like I said, I feel like there's this person, you're home to them, and they just forgot that. Like I said, they got lost, and now they're finding their way home. You know, what I feel like with this person is there's definitely an energy of where they know they screwed up. You know, and this new person, I mean, for some of you, this doesn't may be a viable option. I do see the offer coming in from this person. But for others, I feel like there's a lot to lose. And when I say this past person playing games, just because sometimes people play games doesn't mean they don't care about us. Just sometimes they get away with so much that they feel like they keep pushing it. It's like if you have kids, you understand what I'm saying. Sometimes you give them a little bit and they take more and more every time until they get to a point where you just said enough is enough. And I feel like that's where this is at. Like you put your foot down, enough is enough. Step up or step off. You know, be happy with me or let me be happy without you. And they want to be happy with you. You know, I do see a lot of growth in this person. You know, and like I said, Hangman, not only seeing the situation differently for you, but they're seeing it differently as well. And sometimes, like I said, we go back to the Tower. Sometimes things need to fall apart so we can rebuild. You know, I always use that metaphor or the example. You know, I used to work construction, and I remember going to this house one time, and it burnt. Like, it burnt really bad. There was no saving it. The foundation was good, so we just kind of knocked it down, and we started over, and we built something that was even nicer. Sometimes we just got to knock it down and start over. Whether that be with a new person or someone committed to putting in the work, you know, to rebuild with you. You know, you either show up or you don't. But I ain't gonna sit around and wait for you no more. But like I said, I see a lot of. I mean, with the Wheel of Fortune, we started off with the Wheel of Fortune. You know, and we end with the Knight of Cups. You know, that fulfillment. You know, this person finally filling up your cups. I feel like you always knew they had it in them. That's why you stuck it out as long as you might have already stuck it out, but you knew they had it in them. It's whether or not they're willing to give it to you. And like I said, I feel like at the end of the day, this person doesn't want to lose you. I feel like this person they got a little lost. And I do see them trying to find themselves. Trying to find their way back home, back to you. With this person, I mean, we have Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. We have Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio. We have Gemini. we have Taurus and Capricorn. I mean, sometimes we get pushed into in a situation where we really care about someone, but we got to decide what's best for us. You know, is this the best option? Is this the best it's going to be? Because sometimes when we get in a situation like that and we allow it, it's almost like we're giving it permission, or that person permission to slack off, and it's not going to get better. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't get better. So they either choose you or they choose themselves, and that's up to them. But like I said, I feel like you're being fair. I mean, in some situations, people don't even give that person the opportunity. They just, enough is enough, they're gone. And you're not going to see them again. They're not going to answer your phone calls. They're not answering your text messages. Or, you're not going to answer their text messages. You're not going to, answer their phone calls. You're just going to pretend like they don't even exist. Because sometimes that's the only way to move on. Because certain people have certain powers over us. And when we know that, we have to put a wall up to that. Because if we leave a door, they might sneak back in. And a lot of relationships, unfortunately, we put too many doors in that wall. And they have so many options to get back in. And when they get back in, they just go back to being the same as they were. Some people take our love as weakness. And they use it against us. But it's one of the things in life we got to learn. It is through trial and error. But I feel like you have something special with this person. I feel like you know that. And now it's time to see if they know that. The ball's in their court. Unfortunately, some people they know what they want. And I feel like with this person, them wanting you is never a doubt. I do feel like a very genuine energy of love between the two of you, a very strong connection. But sometimes we just get, for some people, they get complacent. Some people get lost. Some people just forget what it was, And that's why I always say to people, anybody that I know that's, that asks me my advice when starting dating someone new, I always say just be your damn self. Because you can always be yourself consistently. Don't be something that you're not, because someday it's going to be more work. And it's going to be work, and it shouldn't be work. And don't go big. I was actually talking to a friend of mine the other day. He's going on his first date, and he was trying to decide where he's going to take her. And he was talking about this restaurant, this pretty fancy restaurant. And I'm like, but that's not you, man. That would cost him half his paycheck to take her. And you can't keep up with that. And when you start off that way, you start to lead to expectations. Now, I'm not saying to go to Wendy's. But I am saying go to somewhere that, you can afford to do more often than not. Don't go so big, because if you go huge on your first date, it only goes down from there, and nobody's going to appreciate that. If you stick to what and you go to a nice place, like I suggested Montana's. That's my favorite place. And it's still a nice place. I mean, I'm not saying, I just, the idea of going out and spending $1,000 on a date is good if you have it. Sure, it's good. But if you don't, you can't be consistent in that. And the same as, like I said, with this person, I feel like they did a lot of work to get you. But once they had you, you know, it's like your dream job. You work your ass off to get there. You're not going to have that job long if you stop working after you get it. It's just like anything in life. You know, and then there's the resentment settles in, you know. When that person stops trying, then it just feels like a game. It just feels like they felt like they won the game and now it's over. Anyway, I can go on about this forever. I'm actually thinking about doing another channel just to... I get a lot of emails. People ask me questions and advice, and I get it, because sometimes the best advice is from someone that has no idea who you or the person you're with is. And I might do that. You know, give advice the best I know. My friends always kind of joke around and call me the love doctor, even since I was young, because I just love love, you know. And I'm very observant. You know, I'm like a wallflower. I pay attention to things. I see things. And, you know, that can help. Because sometimes people just need a little push in the right direction. Sometimes people just need to be reminded of what they truly have. You know, like I said, sometimes we work so hard to get that person, and then all of a sudden when we get them, we just fall apart, and we wonder why they don't want to be with us anymore. You know? And I've done that as well. I mean, when I first got with Rose, I remember, you know, going for walks all the time, going out all the time, holding her hand. You know, I remember rubbing her back every night before bed, you know, and all these things. And then, you know, somewhere along the line, I stopped doing it as much. But I figured it out before I lost her. You know, you can't just do that shit. You can't just, you know, it's like get with someone and promising them all these things, and then once you get them, you're just like, the promises, what, disappeared? You know, they got with you and they liked you and they want to be with you because of those things, those nice things that you did. So you can't just take them away and expect them to feel the same way. Anyway, be good. I know sometimes I preach, but I just want the best. You know, sometimes the best isn't moving on. Sometimes the best is fixing what you have, because you could have something great. And sometimes I feel like people let things go. You know, it's kind of a thing. Sometimes people let things go too early, and sometimes people let things go too late. You just got to decide where it is that you are. Be good. Take care. Stay safe.